If I need to put mine on, I can put mine on if they get feedback.
Oh no, you good. What's happening, YouTube? Oh, I finally feel like I've got somewhere to go to wear my Marvel gear, just sitting at home watching Loki. You in the building with the Life Gang Avengers. It's me. It's the living legend who has come back to not leave me alone with crazy Marvel women like he did last night. He's back. He's got on his vibranium shirt. Y'all know we pumped. We're amped. We're geeked to talk about Loki, episode 2 of season 1. But first, my brother, how you doing today?
I'm hanging in there, man. I am doing my thing and living life and checking out that Loki action, man. I'm telling you, this was a good episode.
Bruh, this was a damn good episode. I mean, it feels like with this one, they just went full tilt the whole thing. You know, with the other two, it felt like they might have held back a little bit, but this Loki, man, you in action now, and I'm really, really wanting to see what happens next week a little more than I did with the other two series. So, I mean, man, we got a long ways to go, man. Long ways.
I agree, man. After watching this one, it felt like this one, they put so much in it, but it went so fast that when I was over, I was like, wait, that's it? That's it? I want more.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have a new Cosmic Life Games Avenger to introduce. Whenever we have cosmic threats, whenever we have TV shows in the MCU that have so much entanglement, we have to go cosmic to get help. I want to introduce you guys to the big homie, Elliot from Movie Files. His link is in the description. My brother Elliot, how you feeling tonight?
Hey, I'll do my Peter Parker Civil War introduction. Hi, guys. I'm coming in with the shield, Captain America shield and everything. What's going on, Lamont? What's going on, Larry? How we doing, everyone?
Man, I feel like we might have to change his name to like Fresh Fade Movie Files or something, man.
No,
He's
I was
all
gonna say
faded up
Larry,
and
you
looking
want
nice.
the new cut, man.
Oh man, I just cut it all off. You have the fresh fade, man. Looking all dappered up.
Hey man, I got my man Mobius in the TVA. He got a barbershop that he set up in the multiverse that I go to every now and then.
Oh, so you one of them special Negroes too, huh? You and E-Man got access to the TVA and photos. You one of them too, huh? Oh Lord, here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, please check this good brother out. Oh, wait a minute. I got to drop the pauses. Yo, Lamont from Trestle C. I ordered my Tesla yesterday and I used your code.
There you go. There you go.
Wait a minute.
Man.
Wait a minute. Not Trestle C. Trestle C, I thought you was completely against Teslas, but I'm so glad you got one. I guarantee you.
Tressa C's been saying in the comments section that she's been fighting her urges not to buy one. She says she's been trying to be responsible and not get one, but she says she was having trouble fighting the urge.
Well, Tressa C, I guarantee your life is about to be changed. Your driving life is about to be changed. And of course, if you got any questions, comments, or concerns from the plug to the speed of the charging to the kilowatt, hit your boy up. Let's do this, fellas. Let's get on into this. Let's dive on into it. So, Elliot, whenever I get my reviews going, I always start off with some clip from whatever we're discussing.
We're not even getting going yet.
Man.
This dude here, boy. Lord. Let me post this. I just wanted to kick this off right and warn everyone that Larry is a very I've already reported him to the TVA. Don't forget to like the video.
Man.
So, E-Man, let me tell you this. You ain't the only one that apparently has access to the TVA. My man Elliot said he go get his haircuts at the TVA. He was like, the dude that cut his hair is blind like Ray Charles, but look at that smooth edge up line.
I mean, you see, they got the rows of like departments. One of those departments got to be a barbershop. So yeah,
and if they mess up the cut, he just goes ahead, erases them from existence, and goes back and just finds the timeline, gets another fade.
Yeah, you prune them, as they say. I hit him with the prune.
Yeah, right.
But E-Man wants to front like I'm a variant. He knows he's B Hunter 21. Oh,
man. fellas, let's dive on into this thing, man. There's a lot to cover, and I want to make sure everybody gets adequate time to discuss what they want to say. So I'm gonna go to a part that some people was talking about online, and then we'll dive into the review cut by cut.
I mean, you really believe in all this stuff, don't you? I don't get hung up on believe, not believe. I just accept what is.
3 magic lizards
Timekeepers.
created the TVA, and everyone in it,
Right.
including you.
Including me.
You see, every time I start to admire your intelligence, you say something like that.
Okay, who created you, Loki?
A frost giant of Jotunheim,
And who raised you?
Odin of Asgard.
Odin, god of the heavens, Asgard, mystical realm beyond the stars, frost giants. Listen to
It's not the
yourself.
same. It's completely
No,
different. It's not the same.
Actually, it's exactly the same thing, because if you think too hard about where any of us came from, who we truly are, it sounds kind of ridiculous.
Oh, look at that. We leave with 3, we come back with 4.
What's good?
Ladies and gentlemen, in
It's
the
like
building,
Loki. It's like
In
Loki magic in here.
in
Yes.
the building, my brother B. Avery down in the TX has joined us. B. Avery, brother, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. I'm feeling pretty good. How y'all feeling?
Good,
Man.
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. I'm telling you, it's like that Loki. What did he call it? That replicator magic or whatever. It's like we leave with 3 black men, we come back, we have 4. Just
Yes.
like that.
Just
Yes,
like that.
it is.
You
Ladies
know?
and gentlemen, y'all have not seen a more sexier ensemble of black men since they made that song, Black Men United. You right here with us. This is where it starts at. And we ready to do this. So B. Avery and Elliot, I've already asked Larry, but I want to get you guys quick little synopsis of how you felt about the review. I mean, this episode, and I'll start with you, Elliot.
Yeah, man. I mean, this one to me was just a little bit more refined than the first one. I really enjoyed the first episode, but this one to me just kind of really opens the door to the MCU, especially with those bombs dropping at the end. But this to me had the perfect tone. The pacing was there. The world building was there. The character art was still there. At the same time, it's still having fun, man. So this episode to me encapsulates what this show could be, plus more. So I really enjoyed the second episode overall.
Excellent. B. Avery.
I like the second episode too. However, I think I like the first one better because it was just kind of fresh, kind of new. They gave us so much. This one right here, I don't know. I liked it. The ending is what I liked the most of all, and what that's going to be opening up for the future. But it was still real good. Still real good.
Okay, cool. We'll dive into it. So
You know what?
Go ahead,
No,
Larry.
let me just stop this for a moment. When you've had like 3 weeks of time to think about how you feel about this episode, since we have special Negroes in here with early advanced screenings, we want a more detailed, thought out answer with all kinds of insight in there. You know, when you watched it like 5 times in the last 3 weeks, while the rest of us scrubs are just up here waiting at 3 a.m, waiting for that clock to tick from 2:59 to 3 so we can start watching. You know, we don't get all that extra time. We don't get all that extra time to contemplate.
Well, I'll just go ahead. I was going to save that, but this actually, I talked about it earlier. This actually has, one of my favorite scenes in the show so far. This episode right here, actually one of my favorite scenes in the whole MCU, and the conversation and thought process that it sparks. And so it really gets my mind wondering. Me and Elliot spoke on it briefly earlier, and it's pretty philosophical. And we'll get into it when we get there. But I had to throw that in there too.
Okay, cool. Let me shout out Will Lawrence. He wants to hit me up about a Tesla. Will, just email me, getalifegain@gmail. Shout out to Tressa C, who just put an order in for a Tesla and she used my code. You got questions about Teslas and all that, just hit a brother up. Larry, I'm going to come to you first. The opening scene, really, really liked it. They start out in Oshkosh, Wisconsin in 1985. One of the puns about this 1985 was 85. One of the themes of this whole entire series is an apocalypse, and we'll get there. But 85 was when they introduced, Marvel did in the comics, the character Apocalypse, the character Nebula. They introduced those characters in 85. I'm sure that was an homage to that. But we get an opening scene with this actress named Sasha, who I really, really enjoyed seeing on screen, C20. She goes in here to try to infiltrate Lady Loki. And guess what happens? She gets enchanted. Larry, you get first dibs on the opening scene. What did you think?
Yeah, I have to say I was happy to see Sasha Lane in there because I've seen her in some other things before. I can't remember which movie I remember seeing her in, but there was something I saw her in that I really, really liked. And so when I saw that she was going to be in here, I was kind of interested to see how she was going to do. So I was happy to see her here. But yeah, this whole thing with the female Loki enchanting the other people, or sort of, it's, I don't want to know if you even want to call it enchanting. It was really more of like a possession, you know. But yeah, I can't recall that was something that I ever remembered Loki doing before. So
we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Now, let me see what the fellas say, and then I'll fill in some holes if I have to. Elliot, I'm coming to you. How did you feel about the opening scenes?
Well, I like that Easter egg you dropped there as far as 1985, because the way I took this open scene was just kind of a meta nature of like the clowns playing, and it's, you know, in the circus in regards to these people playing dress up, and we see the TVA as Loki thinks of them as clowns. So I kind of looked at it as like a interesting way to kind of that she dropped in at this particular moment with this Renaissance people dressing up, playing the part, as she says, because the one girl says, hey, you know, this means a lot to us. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they chose that location, or I should say Lady Loki chose that location. But the opening scene was dope, man. As you just mentioned regarding the skill set, because I was always to believe that Loki and Lady Loki had the exact same power skills or power sets, but like Larry said, I've never seen Loki take control over someone unless he had the powers of the Tesseract in the first Avengers film. So is Lady Loki going to teach Loki more about maybe powers he's never discovered before, or maybe you never used before? So I thought the opening was dope. And like you mentioned earlier, Lamont, I'm a big fan of Sasha Lang. She was in, I think the film was American Honey with Shia LaBeouf, and she was also in a show with Amazon earlier this year called Utopia. So she's a really good actress. This is Marvel yet again, swinging it and hitting the home run when it comes to casting. So hopefully we get more of her with this show, because she gave a big nugget of where you can find these timekeepers. But I like this first opening the scene a lot.
I did too. B. Avery, jump on in there, my brother.
You're muted, bro.
Boy. You're on mute.
Well, I love the opening scene as well. I even, going back to the very beginning, even before the 1985, them just showing Marvel Studios in the green color that matches Loki with like the gold highlights. That really just stood out to me, and I like that. But going to this 1985, it was funny to me. You know, when these Minutemen do show up, the one of the people there, I guess, running the event, is just like, you know, hey, you guys are out of costume, you know, what's going on? He's like, and they just ignore her. And she's like, you know, we need this. I got a nice chuckle out of that right there. That was a great way to start the episode. You know, but it's just funny because you know, people, sometimes we do need escapism, you know, to, you know, get out of our normal everyday life, whether it's through the weekday or the weekend, whatever, you know, even if it's in a happy life, sometimes you just like to change it up. And so it's just funny to me, they went all in with the set design and the costumes, and hey, you know, we're in this Renaissance period. So that was pretty cool to me. Now, as far as the actual agent, I'm not as familiar with her in other roles as you guys are, but she just looks like she has an attitude. She has a stick up her behind. And you know, I don't want to wish violence on people, but you know, hey, I guess they had it coming, you know. And it's quite interesting that the Lady Loki, who you know, we're all saying Lady Loki, but I mean, I guess it's just my ignorance of the comics. I just never knew of a lady. I always, when we first saw this character, I was thinking that it was the Enchantress, you know, and we're talking about enchanting this. Whether they're the same person or not, I don't know. Maybe y'all can school me on that. No. But okay.
But you know, since we already here, we might as well fill in the hole. Matter of fact, we're gonna go Old West style. If you want to go on when we go to a particular subject, feel free. But in essence, what B. Avery is talking about, for those of you following, Loki and both the Lokis get into a kind of a pissing match, where Loki actually insults Lady Loki because she's using the powers Enchantress has. He's calling her using that as amateur hour, because I do feel like Marvel is moving toward making this Lady Loki more of the Enchantress, or what they could be trying to intimate to us, that if you're on a different timeline in any of the multiverses, your powers might be slightly augmented. But basically what she's doing is a lot of what the Enchantress does. And typically you've seen the Enchantress in the comics hook up with Loki to try to overthrow Asgard in order so that she can put Thor under her control to use him because she loves Thor. And normally Loki doesn't have that power because he's a little bit more powerful than that. But like B. Avery said in this discussion, Marvel is twisting that, it looks like.
Yeah. So and she's obsessed with Thor,
highly obsessed. And I was going to talk about it later on, but there's your Enchantress, green and gold, just like Loki. The only thing she's missing is the horns. But if you guys take a good look at this Loki, you see she's got the short horn and one of them is broken off. That comes straight from the comic books too. Straight from the comic book, except for they bent her power a little bit. But
her outfit didn't come from the comics.
What'd you say?
Her outfit didn't come straight from the comics. She's up there wearing a Steve Jobs turtleneck.
Now let me highlight some rumors I read on the web about maybe Marvel, this being the first time we've ever seen Marvel actually gonna dibble dabble in lesbian love, that this version of Loki could possibly be a lesbian. And what happened with this was the rumors getting out there because she took this particular Loki, and by the end, you guys saw that she told this lady Loki everything, where the TVA is located, all the data, she gave it up. And as we go through this review, ladies and gentlemen, we'll discuss that a little bit more in depth. So whatever y'all want, we got answers for you on this channel. When it comes to Marvel, we got the answers for you. And so I guess I'll take you guys to the next scene. Elliot, you get first crack at this. Did you catch this Easter egg? They talked about it in the end, but they showed it in the beginning. The jet ski. Loki and Mobius was having a discussion about how the jet ski fits into the timeline. And very early on, this is what Loki was reading when he was supposed to be studying all things TVA, how to understand how all things work. And while he's studying, Ms. Minutes is getting on his butt. And he eventually asked Miss Minutes, "Are you real? What are you?" She basically says, "Yes." To me, that just means she's another form of intelligence, kind of like Jarvis. My brother Elliot, break down this scene where Miss Minutes was giving it to Loki.
Well, Miss Minutes, I think that this will be the most sold out Funko plush doll. The kids are going to be dressing up like Miss Minutes this Halloween. Like this is Baby Yoda for the MCU. I think this character would be the next kind of Groot character. It's so much fun, and just the back and forth that she has with Loki as he, like you said, is supposed to be studying. But looking at jet skis, which I do think that we talked about it on Brandon's channel a little bit earlier. I think my man Mobius will be getting the jet ski by the end of the season. And also, as it says, power, performance, and all this stuff, I think that, Mobius might step out of that lane that he's been so forced to believe in and venture off and maybe be a variant of his own. But yeah, the biggest thing for me was, Miss Minutes is just a wealth of knowledge. And I would love to see the creation of how she was made. Again, the TVA and how they separate who is a Minuteman versus who is a field agent versus who is a judge. I can't wait to kind of break down and learn more about the TVA. But Miss Minutes is the MVP so far as regards to just a fun character.
With that, my brother, B. Avery, your thoughts? Opening scene, on this scene with Loki studying, getting into Miss Minutes, aka the new Jarvis, and the jet skis.
Right on. Yeah, she is quite the character. Very, very hilarious. And I do agree with Elliot as well that she is going to be like the #1 seller, whenever that drops. I love the character. And that's also a good reference. I didn't think of that as Jarvis, and this is like, it's exactly like Jarvis. And the technology is taken even further because, we didn't really get any type of visual representation of Jarvis. But I guess this is how it would look in the TVA. So this is kind of cool. But like Loki did ask the question, we don't know if it's a complete program or there is some sentience, but it's probably a good mixture of the both. As far as the jet ski is concerned, yes, I would love to see Owen Wilson sailing on somewhere in a big body of water in the jet ski saying, "Wee!" That would just be hilarious. But I don't even remember seeing this like in the magazine at the very beginning. So you just got that good eagle eye right there. That just kind of slid by me. I recall that the first mention of a jet ski was when Mobius said it later on, but I didn't even see it right there. So that's pretty cool.
Hey man, look, I gotta be worth something on this this expansion team. Hell, I just can't be sitting in the bullpen all day spitting out true in the back. I gotta do something. I gotta have some value. My boy Bud 703, who I love the name, and he always super chats $7.03. Said he just watched Loki episode 2. Interesting turn of events. You got that right, my brother.
Yeah.
Larry, first crack at this apple, my man. Talk about this scene with Loki and Ms. Minutes.
I'll tell you, this scene, there's a couple things that got me on here. One is just sort of like this, it's sort of like this mix of high tech and low tech. When I was watching the scene, because here you have like this obviously high tech 3D sort of holographic AI, or maybe she's sentient, I don't know. And at the same time, she's like sort of existing inside of like what looks like a Commodore 64 or something,
Okay.
And at the same time, you look at the phones and they have like these old school rotary dial phones in there. It's just at a typewriter. It's just funny that you see like this sort of mix of old and new, because she's clearly sophisticated way beyond anything that that computer should be able to handle. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny. That and the fact that Loki needs to step up his fly swatting game, because he was missing her left and right.
Damn, bro. Loki got a lot on his mind, Larry. Loki got a lot on his mind. He probably thinking, man, I need to figure out how I can overcome this situation and be back in the driver's seat. And so now, my brother B. Avery, I'm getting ready to come to you with the next evolution in these clips. They did a whole lot of going back through how if you branch off from the normal timeline, you're going to be in danger of having a multiverse. And if you get to those Nexus events that create multiverses, these little weapons don't work to bring them back. And so Owen Wilson has pulled in Loki to join them in going back to do the evidence searching. But before they do that, they have a little powwow with the whole TVA team. And during that TVA team, Loki turns into Professor Loki, just breaking down the implications of magic versus illusions versus duplications. And they show you a bunch of Lokis from different timelines and different variants. So, B. Avery, how'd you feel about this? And did you like the blue Loki? But let me remind everybody, Loki technically is blue now. It's just that he uses his magic to look like the rest of the people in Asgard, because he's no longer belongs to the Frost Giant. So B. Avery, break it down. And here's another look at a more modern form of Loki. If you live in Scandinavia, people in Scandinavia still believe in Odin as God, Thor as the son, and Loki as the evil brother. And this is their Loki. This is where all the mythology comes from. And you can see Marvel did a good job of mashing that up. Having said that, B. Avery, floor is yours, my brother.
Yeah, man, that last picture you showed, that looks quite frightening right there. And I have a few questions, man. I don't even know if I can break this down, because I don't remember that little blue figure popping up. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. My memory has lost me. I remember the conversation with Loki talking to the TVA and him explaining the difference between the projection of power and duplication. I remember that. Okay. For some reason, this right here is just slipping my mind, and I'm just like, you talking about, hey, go first. I'm like, what the hell is this? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm tripping right now. I thought you was pulling the fast one, to be honest with you. But since you was also talking about the multiverse and the timelines, maybe somebody can help me understand this, because I thought this was a plot hole. Now, well, do I want to skip so far ahead? Well, I'll say, okay, at the end of episode 1, we see that the variant, the other Loki, who we now know as Lady Loki, is going around and, to different timelines. And no, the Minutemen are going there. She's killing the Minutemen, and she's stealing their time bombs.
Right.
If those time bombs are stolen, how shouldn't those timelines, they're not cut off. They're still existing, and they would have redlined at some point. Am I correct?
No.
So
no.
why didn't that happen a long time? Why didn't all these timelines, like, because she stole a lot of time bombs? Like I was just thinking about that at the end of episode 1, and you made me think about it when you put the multiverse thing up there. Am I tripping?
No, you're supposed to ask super geeky questions like that because you see I'm wearing Marvel gear today. Hell,
Okay.
I'm here to answer those things. What you think I can't go nowhere dressed like this right now because we can't go. I'm not going to movies, so
Gotcha.
I have to be here doing this.
Cool.
They kind of explained it today when they basically said if you go to a timeline or a time zone somewhere around the time there's going to be an apocalypse event.
Right.
An apocalypse event doesn't have to mean the end of the world because we know it doesn't, unless you're on Asgard. But if you go somewhere where there's an apocalypse event in that area, it doesn't change anything. So no, they wouldn't have to reset it there. And
no, that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay. At the end of episode 1, when she went to Oklahoma, right? And as soon as the Minutemen showed up, she dropped the torch or the lantern, and it set them on fire, and they died.
Right.
And she stole the time bomb. They went to that time to reset it, and it wasn't reset because she stole the time bomb.
I think I got it.
But I think
that existence is still going toward, it's still branching off to the red line. And if she stole so many time bombs, like, it should have already been, like, every timeline that she stole a time bomb from should have redlined already.
Yeah, but from based on this particular series, certain things go to the point where you're having a multiverse event and some things don't. But Elliot, jump in here too. Yeah. I want to hear what you got to say about it.
Well, no, I just assume, as they did in this episode, so C20 went to the festival area and they weren't able to reset the timeline. But then we saw Mobius and Loki and, B15, they went back and set the timeline. So I assume, just like in episode 1, I just figured they just go back and clean up the mess of this lady Loki. So I just assumed they just went back to that timeline just to erase it, just like they did in this episode. That's what I assumed.
Simple explanation that I couldn't think of. But good job. Thank you, sir. that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
Living legend. Jump on in there.
Yeah, that's all I was going to say as far as what Brandon's question was. It just seemed like they sent another team in afterwards and just cleaned it up afterwards. But one thing that I'm curious about with this is that we see that Mobius is sort of taken by Loki and likes Loki, but I'm wondering how long of a standing relationship has he had with Loki, because they show all these different variants, and I'm wondering, has he been working with these different variants throughout the years? And does he maybe know Loki so well because he's dealt with, I think on there it showed like variant number 8 or something like that. So maybe he knows Loki so well because he knows so many different Lokis.
Okay. All right. I can rock with that. Elliot, thoughts on this scene right here? The Lokis, and then they showed alternative Lokis from different worlds and them going back to investigate that crime scene.
Well, I think this is foreshadowing for get ready for some more Lokis. I think we're going to see not maybe all these variations of Loki, but I think we're going to probably see at least 1 or 2 more different Lokis. If I'm not mistaken, I think a really good actor, Richard E. Grant, who's been cast in the show, I think he's playing like an older version of Loki, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we will see some of those Lokis in the future. And I think what they, as Brandon was talking about, this whole breakdown that Loki talked about his powers, I think this is foreshadowing for a future Loki taking a disguise of maybe a Minuteman or a field agent or maybe a timekeeper of its own once they kind of see their appearance. So I think this is foreshadowing for someone pretending to be someone that they aren't. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing in the future.
Okay. Now, Elliot, you wasn't here last week, but Brandon and Larry, are you guys ready to say I was right that the timekeepers are not going to be a good group of people, or whoever's pulling the strings? Are y'all ready to confess that I was right about that?
Well, you got it. You win. Go ahead.
I confess to nothing.
I bet you don't. I bet you don't. So now, Larry, you get first crack at this. So after they go and do the investigation, and during that investigation scene, Loki tries to play Mobius. He tries to play him. But they figure it out and they move on. And now he comes back and he's having a little discussion with Ravonna. And boy, I love me some Ravonna too.
Mhm.
And in this discussion with Ravonna, she's kind of just like, look, man, you need to cut Loki off. I don't trust him. How are we supposed to trust him? But Owen Wilson basically continues to let her know that, look, I've made some promises to him. I'm going to get him to do what he needs to do. Larry, I'm coming to you. The exchange with Mobius and Ravonna. Thoughts on it?
Yeah, see, this goes back to my other question I just asked. It's like maybe they're okay with him working with Loki, this Loki, because he's done it before. He's worked with the other Lokis because they have all these other Loki variants that they've already that they've dealt with. So maybe they're okay with this. They're like, look, we know that you've worked with them before, so go ahead and do your thing. I don't know. It's just a question I'm asking, but you know, I kind of like this. I like this scene, and I liked where some of this was leading up to, because we really got to see Loki sort of. I don't want to just say flex on him, but he kind of did. But we get to see Loki be confident again. He seemed like in the first episode, he seemed really shook, like he was almost scared because he saw that dude get what'd you call that again, Elliot? When he gets pruned.
Yeah.
And and he was questioning, is this the greatest power in the universe, and or whatever. And now we're seeing him starting to get his confidence back, and and he's starting to make other people. And I think one of the things that he's done well in his trickster self is make other people question themselves and question what they know and what is true and what isn't. And I think he's starting to do that again. I think he's doing that in a very legitimate way, where he's like, hey, these are real questions. You can think I'm just being a trickster, but these are real questions. Answer them. If not for me, answer them for you. And so I like seeing that. It feels like we're getting the Loki that we all loved and hated, back.
Okay. Elliot, I'm going to come to you, but I'm going to add a little bit more context. So we are still in the office. They're having that discussion. But good and damn well that office was a renegade of Easter eggs. So let's just start out with this one. They've got the timekeepers' faces in there, but everybody wants to talk about the one in the middle, who we are starting to think is Kang. You see the scaly face, but I never recall Kang's face being scaly, okay? But the issue is, we know that Jonathan Majors has been cast to be Kang in the MCU, and he was even asked if he was on this series, and he dodged the question. And the other thing we do know is that Ravonna in the comics had a relationship with Kang. Kang was her boo thing. And then one final Easter egg, when she decided that she was going to let Mobius take off with Loki. Take a look at this pen. Can y'all see what that pen says?
Oh, look at that.
Franklin D. Roosevelt. What was Kang's real name? Nathaniel Richards Roosevelt. Having all that context. Elliot, take the wheel.
Well, I mean, that's a great call out there, and I think Marvel definitely knows that they have a good relationship in the comics, and I think we can expect to see that in the series, and even in this scene, as her and Mobius are having the conversation, and they're kind of is he jealous? Is he not? She mentions that, hey, you're not the only expert I work with or worked with in the past. If Jonathan Majors isn't a timekeeper, maybe he was a field agent that went rogue and went on his own mission of sorts. So I think there's definitely some established relationship that she might have already had with a Kang the Conqueror or Nathaniel before he becomes Kang. So I definitely think they're hinting at that. If we don't see him in this show, we can definitely maybe expect to see a flashback of sorts, and maybe see her in the Ant-Man film. But yeah, I think that they are definitely leaning towards some type of relationship or some type of establishment between the two, because as she says in this scene, the timekeepers are keeping a very close eye to this case, which again, if we are speculating that Kang is one of the timekeepers, Kang probably would want someone close to the case and keeping an eye on it. So my only thing too with this whole situation with getting Loki and the whole thing was going back to episode 1 about the whole free will conversation, and also the conversation about seeing a variance or any being on Earth or any multiverse, their beginning, their middle, and their end when does that not apply to the TVA or apply to the Minutemen or apply to the field agent? Because wouldn't they know if Mobius was able to catch Loki or Lady Loki? I just wondering what, again, going back to what you said, Lamont, in regards to, are the timekeepers as powerful, as knowing as these sentient beings that just know everything, or is there some cracks in the mythology that they laid upon the TVA? So there's a lot of mystery going around the TVA, and then Renslayer and Kane the Conqueror that I'm really looking forward to. But I love the scene again that just kind of shows, alluding to a relationship that she may have or have in the future with Nathaniel, aka Kang.
Now, didn't we ask that question last episode when we talked about it? And we were saying that if everything is so perfectly aligned, where everything is supposed to be, the timeline is supposed to be set, and no one really has free will, then there wouldn't be the existence of variance. The fact that there are variants says that this timeline is not as set in stone as they would like us to believe.
Right.
Because otherwise, there would be no need for the TVA.
For the TVA, exactly. That's where I'm at. Yeah. So I think they're lying. They're lying, man.
Thank you, Larry. I said that last week, and Emmanuel Norset, or however you say his name, told me I was crazy for talking about these people either are illusions or evil. But I said that last week. But moving right along, I come on to my brother B. Avery. B. Avery, jump on in there, my brother. Uh-oh.
He's muted.
Keep muting myself. I just don't think that the timekeepers, the whole TVA, are as powerful or all knowing as the show is making them to be. I mean, I think that they're powerful, but I also just kind of saying what you're saying, Larry or Elliot. There are some cracks, in the system that I think, and also since you have Kang the Conqueror up there, and one of the TVA members, I personally don't think that Kang is one of the TVA. I think they're probably from the same race or lineage or something like that, same family or something. But I just don't feel that he is a timekeeper. I don't think he's going to pop up in this show in episode 5 or 6. I kind of hope they don't. The way I want this to develop, I hope he doesn't pop up until Ant-Man. And yes, of course, I do believe that there was some previous relationship between Ravonna and Kang. But on top of that, and she looks so serious, I kind of also thought that there's something going on between her and Mobius. I really do feel the energy. I would not be surprised if they either have something going on now or they did in the past. Or at the very least he's feeling her. But I kind of think there's something there, and I kind of hope it is. To be honest with you, so. Because that'll just kind of humanize Mobius just a little bit more, especially since he's so passionate about a jet ski. So we'll see, and hopefully that develops out.
And who knows, she might get on that jet ski with him when the unraveling of what is going on with the timekeepers breaks down, and his eyes are open, hers are open. They might be on them jet skis together. I felt the same energy. Yes. The way they had that dialogue with each other. I mean, for crying out loud, she's getting on the brother because there's a ring on her table where he keeps putting his wine glass or his alcohol glass or whatever you want to call it. And then he finally grabs a hexagon pun back to WandaVision to put on top of the glass so that she will quit arguing with him. That is definitely something someone who's had some deeper chemistry together is going to argue about, if you're going to keep letting the person continuously do it over and over again. That was a good catch, B. Avery. Really, really good one. Real good one.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, that was it.
There we go.
All right. I think there are more than one Mobius like a clone. Remember what she said about the rings. Hey, man. I mean, you preach to a choir here. We know that there's all these different variants, these different timelines. We probably so. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised, fellas, before we move on, that something happens. Mobius doesn't have his job, and Loki takes over. They even kind of mentioned it in this series. And when he hops on that jet ski, if you guys remember, he said that would mess up the timeline, and he would be creating somewhat of a Nexus event. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him and Ravonna on that jet ski. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. And shout out to Kobe for that super chat. Appreciate you, my homie. All right, B. Avery, we're back to you. So after Mobius leaves that office and he's got his confirmation. He done signed the paperwork. He goes back out with Loki. They're having discussion. He wants him to get his study on again. Loki runs over here to this lady who's like, can I get the files of how life started? No. Can I get these files, how it ended? No. Only files you can get are about you. But before we go there, did y'all catch that little T372 Easter egg?
I did not.
So the first time that the TVA ever dropped in the MCU was in Thor versus the TVA.
There it is.
In 372.
Nice.
That was the first time they popped up.
Nice.
But now, Elliot, I'm giving it to you. Talk about Loki and the documents he did find that reveal what happened to Asgard. Yep. And if you look really, really close, it talks about the name of the team that Loki put together called the Revengers. Floor is yours, my brother.
Yeah. No, that's a great little Easter egg to Ragnarok, which I think actually too, just to not to backtrack, but I thought episode 1 of this show was so like reminiscent of Ragnarok in regards to just how Loki came to the TVA, very similar to Thor going to Sakaar and all that stuff. So definitely a nice little nod to what we get with the Revengers and Thor Ragnarok. But in regards to this scene, man, again, we talked about the suspect nature of the TVA and the suspect nature of the timekeepers. You know, the Liberian, secretary lady says, classified. Is it classified? Do they exist? Do those files even exist? Is it all made up of a sorts of the beginning of time, the beginning of TVA? Does she have access to it? So I think that is, a nice little funny moment that obviously she wouldn't give those files to Loki. But again, do those files even exist in the first place? So I like, again, this is just showing Loki as he never takes direction. Mobius tells him to study the work and he's doing something else, but obviously he does, figure some things out that obviously help them out. But again, I just love this kind of development and kind of breaking down everything. And again, when Loki sees the destruction of Asgard, he gets emotional, man, which is great to see this villain that we've known to love or hate in the MCU getting these back-to-back moments of last week, finding out that his mom died and he was responsible for that, seeing his own demise, and now seeing that his home or what he known to be home has been destroyed. So this just puts again into his head a new mission, a more glorious purpose of life, and maybe veering away from his villainous ways. So I just love again how they're kind of breaking down this character that we've known for 10 plus years and giving him a new kind of path of life.
Man. Wow. B. Avery, I don't know how you go behind that, but hey, you next on deck.
Well, yeah, going back to the librarian scene, that was just kind of funny to me. The bell doesn't work. I mean, it's just silly. I mean, they have all this advanced technology, but then they have old dusted technology too. It's quite interesting to me right there. But I like how Loki is thinking. He's like, man, F this. How was the TVA created? How was time created? When does it end? Like those are the all-knowing questions right there. And this dude just trying to get straight to the point. But if you go to that picture of them, if showing Mobius and Loki walking, if you could put it up real quick, the first picture you pulled up in this sequence.
Oh, I done deleted it.
Oh, it's all good. But one of them, if you look in the background, man, you can just see how deep those hallways and corridors go. I mean, it was just floor on top of floor on top of floor. And it just went back so deep. And, that just kind of shows me, okay, yeah, of course, you're going to need all these employees if they're, going over the whole multiverse, managing that. And that just kind of stood out to me. But kind of just also like Elliot was saying, I do feel sorry for Loki, seeing him, how emotional he was and, breaking down after he's seen the destruction of Asgard. It's pretty sad. And, just shows all of Tom Hiddleston's acting chops and just another standout moment in this episode.
Yeah, man. He's acting his ass off, bro. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I've ever said he wasn't a good actor, but he's playing this role for sure. I'm glad he got this and that he never was capped up. He was never Captain America. Larry, drop your thoughts on this, my brother.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, what is a class 10? I mean, if they have a total planetary destruction as a class 7 apocalypse, what in the world is a class 8, 9, and 10? I mean, that's just crazy. But I mean, I thought it was a funny scene. Just it was more that it was in the same vein, I think, as in that first episode when they asked him to sign here. The sign this is everything you've ever said, and he said something again, and the printer printed out another sheet, and then another sheet. It's sort of the same vein where everybody's got this very stoic attitude. Just, Loki comes in there, he's sort of, I imagine, I don't know what these people talk about, around the water cooler, but I would imagine that Loki is probably a fan favorite in that office. They're probably like, in this boring, sterile work environment, here is this sort of breath of fresh air. A little bit of chaos. I mean, he talked about throughout this episode about stuff being boring and how they needed a little bit of chaos. And I think these people are probably, even though they're not showing it, they're probably enjoying it. Like that woman that interaction with Loki probably made her weak, because that was probably as much excitement as she gets.
To that point that Larry's bringing up, I like where he's going on that, because it is something interesting to see Loki. Obviously, all these people were created by the TVA, or the TVA was created by the Timekeeper, so they have like their own belief. Obviously, we'll talk about the belief system that Mobius has, but when you throw in someone that's not born in this, knowing this world, they're going to question things. And I think that Loki being the mix, as Mobius thinks is a good thing, he's going to probably have these people question their belief system, how they do things, asking questions that no one asks, like, where do we come from? What the hell is a fish, as Casey brought up last week? So right. I think having this chaotic character working so close to this tight-knit, follow the guidelines, he might blow up the TVA and have these people asking questions they never even thought to ask before. So I think, like to Larry's point, is really interesting that Loki is digging things up and maybe having people question the TVA.
And can we give more Casey?
Not only the TVA, but have you guys noticed how Loki has, not just this episode, but the last episode, he keeps asking people about having fun and doing things like that when you're in a place where you're supposed to be as bland as white bread. And I think that at some point in time, somebody is going to let their hair down, and it's probably going to be Mobius. He's going to let his hair down and cut loose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you see that he already wants to do so with the jet ski.
Right.
I mean, he wants to have this sort of recreational activity that he's never been on one. He doesn't know if it would be fun or not, but he's thinking that this is something that I want. Right. Which is kind of against what he should be thinking. That's right.
He's supposed to be in their propaganda wheel. And
I want to know what happens to the TVA if they end up dealing with someone like Wanda, who you said who's a Nexus being. What happens when you have to deal with someone who's not affected by because all this stuff is, I don't know, what do you call it, magic technology, whatever. When they're not affected by it, then what?
You get your ass beat. You get your ass beat, and you call in whoever the most powerful being is that's pulling the real strings, and hope that he is as powerful as someone like the Beyonder. Because if not, you're in trouble. And I think that one of these big reveals is possibly, I don't want to connect the dots and give y'all all this free information, but I think the Beyonder is connected to this thing too. And I'll talk about that when we get to that point. Next, I'm coming to you, B. Avery. Okay, so Loki done got this knowledge. He done figured things out. He has figured out that if you go to an apocalypse event, you can hide from the TVA. And he makes his illustration by taking my man's salad, shaking salt on it, calling it the whole. Then he slipped pepper on it, called it something else. Then he go and take his boy milk and call it Surtur.
Yeah, man.
And to prove the theory, they go back to Pompeii, Italy, before the volcano erupted, and Loki did his very best to try to change things. Nothing happened. B. Avery, floor is yours.
Yeah, man, I think it's hilarious that even when they went to Pompeii, Mobius is just like, okay, let's just make some little bird noises. Loki like, F them, like, you're free, you're all gonna die. The volcano's about to erupt, Mobius over there just about to lose his mind. So that was just kind of funny. And Loki's like, yes, I was right. Just kind of, I laughed.
I did too, man. I was laughing.
I laughed even harder and shook my head when he was just showing everybody lunch, man, because like I was saying earlier, you don't mess with nobody's money, but especially you do not mess with anybody's food, especially when they're hungry, And it was just kind of funny too, because Mobius, it seems like he's not really happy with his job, and he's kind of just dreading it. And I hate my job, but hey, I can't get on a jet ski, but the highlight of my day is my little salad right here. And then here comes Loki. He's like, God damn it, you know, like,
Have
did you
some
read the
fun.
files? Did you read all of the files? Okay, I'm trying to eat my salad or whatever. And you know, I was also saying, like, you know, it's funny because like you're the one that hired him, you know, when he has a solution and you don't want to hear it, man. And you know, the salt and pepper thing was funny. I forgot what was Elliot. What's the guy's name there in the back that he got his milk stolen from again? I forgot.
Casey.
Casey, yeah.
Yeah.
Casey. You know, he's like, hey, you know, he get abused by everybody. He's like that. He's like the guy off the that gosh, Office. Is it Office Space movie?
Office Space, yeah. My
Yeah.
stapler.
Yeah. The stapler guy that at the
Yeah.
end gets, you know, put in the basement and then starts to build on fire. Like, that's gonna be Casey.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Burn it all to the ground.
You know, but at the same time, with all that being said, you know, Loki was still able to get his point across and make a valid point. And so, you know, that's just you know, how badass he is.
That's right, man. Mobius, I would say, is the definition of a company man. Definition of what they call a company man in corporate America. Larry, jump on in there, my brother. What'd you think about this? Larry, he was trying to warn these people that volcano is about to erupt.
Yeah. I mean, this to me was great because, you know, we often think about our superheroes or villains because they're super powered. They have some sort of magic, or they have strength, or they can fly, or they can do something spectacular. And here we're seeing that without any of that Loki's just flat out smart. You know, he's all of his magic and stuff aside, he's just a freaking genius. You know, that here you have this entire agency and all these people trying to think through all these problems, and here he shows up in just a matter of a day or two. He's figuring stuff out that they couldn't, you know. And it was just kind of one of those flexes again where he's just like, yeah, I'm that dude, you know. And so anyways, it was, and I really love this relationship between him and Mobius. He's kind of like, you know, it's sort of like Loki's that dude when you go to college and your roommate's like from some podunk town whose dad was a preacher and never went out against the grain, and then his roommate's crazy and takes him to a strip club during his first week of college, and then the kid's ruined. It's kind of like that. Mobius is like getting ruined. He's like, and not in a bad way. He's just starting to see, like, wait a minute, I want stuff, you know. I exist and I want things, and I'm starting to see how much fun it could possibly be with a little bit of, you know, unpredictability in my life, you know, because when he goes to Pompeii and he sees that Loki jumps up and he's screaming, I'm Loki, you're about to all die, and blah, blah, blah. And it changes nothing on the timeline. I think that just sets something off in Mobius's mind. Like, wait a minute. All this stuff that we've been taught to believe, that everything is predestined and we can't go outside, we can't color outside the lines, otherwise we may become a variant. I think he started to think like that might be all BS, you know, and maybe I'm holding myself back for no real reason.
Okay, all right, Elliot, what did you think about this thing?
To the point of you guys have brought up how smart Loki is. He's not a dummy. He's going to keep that knowledge too. However this show ends, he knows now that you can go into different timelines that have apocalyptic type of situations that he is going to definitely use to his advantage. So I think Loki will definitely keep that in his back pocket if we do get a future season 2 or, you know, some movie with him appearing in there, that he's going to keep that. But it also speaks again to, okay, now knowing this knowledge now that episode 2 gave us, who else has done this tactic in regards to going to a big level event? I don't know what we consider Avengers 2012, an apocalyptic event, an alien invasion. Does that explain why the Avengers were able to go to 2012 and not be detected by the TVA because they weren't noticed? They were an invasion going on, and explains why they didn't get pulled into to trial. But I think them showing us this, that people can pop into different timelines where things are meant to be. We're going to see people do that in a Doctor Strange, maybe in a Spider-Man. I think that this information is definitely something we can look forward to seeing in Phase 4.
Wow. 100% agree. Great points. You guys are all right on with that. All these things are stemming to the setup for the next phase of the MCU. And this show is just, it's taking you down those roads really, really well. Really, really well.
let me ask you guys a question. If you go, because I know like with the Infinity Stones, you were saying before, like if you have an Infinity Stone for one timeline and yet you take it to another one, it won't work. Like it's only going to be good in that particular timeline. But what if you go to another timeline and you become endowed with a certain power that you didn't have before? Because that is a part of you now, do you get to move that with you? It's not a physical object, it's actually a part of you. You get to take it with you.
Well, so to go back to your one, but you said you take an Infinity Stone from one timeline. You can't use it another. You can use it in another timeline, can't you? Because then we see that in the end game, as far as they went to the different timelines and took their Infinity Stones to use it into the end game for Thanos. The snap.
What he was trying to say was the different Earths, because what this is Earth 616, I think.
Different.
But you can't take it to a different Earth or a different planetary number like 732, and you won't have that power. No, the MCU is saying you can't do that. But you can go within your timeline and use the Infinity Stones if you are in the 616, but you can't go outside the 616 and use those same stones.
So what if Loki goes to like 732 and then he meets the Loki there, and the Loki there is like, yo, here's what you could do this, and gives him, maybe teaches him powers there or something. Will he be able to use that power when he goes back to 616?
I don't think he will. I don't think he will unless there's some technology that's going to allow him to do that. I don't think he will. Elliot, what do you think?
Well, if we go back to, Lady Loki, if she is from a different Earth, not even a different time, but a different Earth, and she's able to use her mind control powers that we haven't seen our version Loki use, maybe she can unlock that special power in her. It'll be, again, this show is just opening up the floodgates in regards to power sets and breaking the physics of the reality in this world. So again, we have a film coming out next year called Multiverse of Madness. So maybe all this stuff will be flipped over on its head and turned upside down after this show ends.
I think it's absolutely perfect. Our Loki is showing us a different timeline, and the Lady Loki Enchantress is showing us a different universe.
Right.
So I love it.
Right.
So part of the reason I was thinking about that is like with you guys were saying before, the only time we've seen Loki be able to sort of entrance somebody or possess someone is when he had the power of the Tesseract. But then the other Lady Loki's able to do it without anything. Mm-hmm. So maybe Loki's sort of been holding himself back, thinking he needed the Tesseract to do it when he really didn't, and he just has to be able to unlock that, as you say. Maybe he needs to level up. So maybe he has the power to use of what all the Infinity Stones do. Maybe he has the power to use like what would be the Time Stone or the or whatever else. So that he just has to be able to unlock it within him.
No, that's not gonna happen.
Larry, boy, you swing. I let you swing hard, bro, but you swinging hard on this one. In this very episode, he was chastising Lady Loki for her enchanting powers, saying it's basically beneath him and it's tricks and stuff. But what I will agree with you on, Larry, is in these different multiverses. So I forget which one Lady Loki comes from, but we know this Loki comes from 616. Maybe their powers are just different. Maybe they just have different powers. And it seems like the MCU is taking this Lady Loki and has given her the powers of the Enchantress. That's what.
But that's my question. Maybe all the Lokis have all these powers, except they're only aware of certain powers in certain times, in certain timelines, or in certain Earths. And as they become aware of each other, they have the ability to unlock those powers. So maybe Loki doesn't even know that he can enchant somebody or can possess somebody. But once he becomes aware of it, now he knows how to do it, and he can take that wherever he goes. Maybe another Loki that we'll see later on in the series will have the power to do something else that we didn't know that Loki could do. And once he becomes aware of it, he can take that wherever he goes.
No,
I disagree.
I'm
not making a statement that this is. I'm asking the question, like, is this something that?
No, not gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen.
I think that's just a stretch. Like I just think that each Loki from a different universe has a different power, and they're turning her into the Enchantress. But more that I just think each Loki has a different power.
Man,
but aren't all of Lokis at the core Loki? So if one has it in one Earth, shouldn't the other one essentially have it inside of them and just needs to be turned on?
That is a common thread in all multiverse and all fiction. You know that you have parallel Earths. Some Earths or parallel universes, some may be similar and others may be vastly different. Mm-hmm. And even in our 616 Loki, his mother taught him the magic that he knows, you know, and it's taught. So yes, they are all Loki, but they're all different. I mean, same with Spider-Man. You know, there's different Spider-Man. You have Peter Parker, you have Miles Morales. Well, they're both Spider-Man, but one is black and Hispanic, one is white. You know, so it's the same thing here with Loki.
To go on Larry's, because I'll go on Larry's trip I'll jump on the ride for a little bit here. I think Larry is onto something regarding to, again, just looking at the two shows we gotten so far, and even going back to Thor Ragnarok. Thor never knew. He thought that he was the god of thunder. He needed, Mjolnir. He needed his hammer to enhance his powers. But we find out in Thor Ragnarok, well, they kind of retcon that in Infinity War, but he doesn't need that. So he had to learn that from Ragnarok. And he gained new powers. We look at Wanda, who was, Wanda Maximoff. She didn't know that she had the Scarlet Witch in her. We see Sam become the Captain America. So I think, to Larry's point, Loki may discover, maybe not like a new power set, but he might discover something that he never knew that was inside of him, to kind of play on, like I said, what Larry was going on, that he might discover something new, as we've seen these two shows, these characters picking up some new abilities. So who knows? At the end of the show, Loki might have something cool and new and fresh to do.
Oh, I already know what that's going to be. He's going to become a hero. That's going to be his new cool something to do. That's
the hero, Loki hero.
Yeah. Let's see here. Elliot, I'm coming to you next, my brother. I really enjoyed the dialogue between Mobius and Loki. And in this particular scene, Loki says something that I know Larry loved every breaking second of. Loki said, if you live long enough, you'll become a villain. If not, you die early as a hero. Talk about this scene where they have all this just profound dialogue. And we also get this in this same scene. They're talking about the jet ski, which was the pun for earlier in the episode when we broke down that magazine. Break it all down for us, Elliot.
Yeah, no, this is great writing here. You got two people on the complete spectrum as far as polar opposite people. One guy follows the guidelines. The other guy is a chaos of, he's a chaotic character. They're in a lunchroom environment with this beautiful technology behind them in the TVA. But I'm more fascinated in what they're saying more so than what's going on in the background. And the conversation is so fascinating because it's just questioning your belief, as Mobius brings up, I believe in the TVA, I believe in the timekeepers and a sacred timeline. And Loki, you come from Asgard, and you come from the lore that you have, and Thor and Odin and all that stuff. So it's so interesting to see these two people kind of talk about the meta nature of comic books and all this stuff, make believe and imagination, and that's why I think, as we talked about earlier, I think Mobius will be that character that might flip-flop. It might be the Loki of a sense that he goes on his own path. He might become a variant and live his own type of lifestyle once he interacts with this Loki and really kind of opened up his mind. So this is phase 4, man. We're talking, what do you believe in? We got the Eternals that may or may not be, gods in the MCU. We already dealing with gods with Loki and Thor and Odin. So it's just, Marvel's doing it, man. They're finally having these deep cut conversations and having these interesting characters having those conversations. So I think Brandon talked about it in history, and this is one of the better scenes of the show and maybe of the MCU in regards to this conversation. It's really, really awesome to see this on a Marvel Disney Plus show. This conversation about life and where do we, what do you believe in and all that stuff is really, really cool.
What? So y'all talked about this on Brandon's show. So the clip that I picked to be my headliner, I did good. B. Avery? I did good. I picked that clip. And so now, B. Avery, I'm going to get in here and let you jump into it. And like Elliot was saying, this was absolutely the same conversation where they was discussing basically metaphors for creationism versus evolution. And we also learned just how much of a company man Mobius is. And we also learned that Mobius, for whatever the reason, he said that some people view Loki and the Asgards as gods. But if we can recall Thor 2, The dad said, we're not gods. We live, we die. So be
Just like
Avery,
humans.
jump on in this thing, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier was one of my favorite scenes of the episode of this season and one of my favorite scenes of the MCU. Just because it gets into your belief system. And it's not just the conversation, the words they're spitting, it's the way they are, the delivery.
Right.
And I love, like you cannot believe this, that these space lizards, time cops, or dictators of everything, ruling everything, and there's just no free will. I mean, I love the way he's delivering his lines, and he's like, yeah, that is what I believe, and he just like, what is the point? I mean, I don't even know if that's a question that people can just really answer. They can say something that sounds nice, and I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. I'm just saying that it's just one of those things that is different for everybody. Like, what is the point of life? What is the point of this? Like, if this created this, and this created this, and this created this, and then this created this, like, what is the end goal? And these are the questions that this scene is asking. It seems like Owen Wilson has an answer, but Mobius, but he's just not satisfied with it. Like, well, we're just trying to protect the past, because Loki was saying, like the timekeepers are trying to protect the future and unravel everything. And he was like, what's the point? He's like, just to get to the end, where we meet in peace, and even if that's the case, it's like, what is the point, if they know everything, and so I love that back and forth right there. It really got my brain, turned up to the highest level. It was pretty cool, man, and I can't wait, to see how far they take that this question as far as answering is concerned.
Mm-hmm. Good commentary, behavior, real good. Larry, what'd you think about this scene?
Yeah, this is one of those scenes where I'm really glad that Disney and Marvel are able to actually cast real talented, skilled actors and not just a bunch of pretty CW people.
No, you didn't. Wait a minute. What? Yeah. No, you didn't go there. Larry, come on, man. You were doing good this whole hour, and now you know what, boy. If you're watching this CW and you thought about signing me and Larry, he will apologize behind closed doors. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah, man, this scene would not have been the same if you had lesser actors, and so I'm glad they had those two in there. But I think that, I think when you look at, I know they're questioning each other, and they're both, Owen Wilson's character Mobius is talking about his belief system, but I feel like he's already doubting everything. I think just the fact that he's working with Loki is in itself is sort of like him saying, I'm pushing the envelope as far as I can push it and still not be looked at sideways. I think working with Loki is that for him. It seems minor, but for him and for the TVA, that's a big deal. And so I think he's already, I think even before Loki, maybe because he's dealt with other Lokis, or maybe just because he already had some of that questioning bit in him. I think him wanting to work with Loki is just another way of him saying, yeah, I'm questioning things and I want to kind of see where it goes. Mm-hmm. And, because we saw the first episode, they didn't want him to work with Loki. They were like, no, he's dangerous. And no one, and what's her name? Hunter B12 or whatever it is, or what's her name? Is it B12? B15? B15 it is. B12 is a vitamin. Anyways, she didn't, she doesn't like him working with Loki. So I think that that's just part of, I think he's just going through his own existential crisis, and no one else is really seeing it except for maybe Loki,
Right.
And Loki's asking the questions and making him think stuff, and he's trying to make Loki think back and asking the same questions back, but it's not really having the same effect, because I feel like Loki has so much more worldly experience, even though he's only really experienced his one world, where this other guy's experienced all kinds of worlds. He's only experienced it from one perspective, where Loki has dealt with all kinds of different stuff. So yeah, I feel like, I don't know what Mobius's journey is in the comics, but I feel like we see where it's going right now. Like he's going to break at some point, and he's going to break, and he's not going to be the company man that just follows orders and is droning on. I mean, we see him already from the beginning where he's not that, and it's going to become much more apparent, I think, as the episodes go on.
He ain't the only one that's going to break. Ravonna breaking too. I can just go ahead and tell y'all you can book that. Judge Ravonna is going to be breaking. Book it.
All right.
I'm coming to you now, B. Avery. We're starting to round this thing up. Now, mind you, I forgot to mention the carrot that they're dangling in front of Loki to get him to acquiesce is the opportunity to meet the timekeepers. Now, we know he has a greater motivation than that. And now that he's working with Mobius and the TVA, he discovers that whole trick about going to an apocalyptic scene and just kind of hanging out there. But there was one more piece of evidence that Mobius had, and that was this blue gum. And they get the blue gum, and Loki decides, I'm going to work with y'all. And they head on over here to Hurricane Land while Loki, the female, is watching. B. Avery, you get to take the wheel from here.
Yeah, man, that was a nice way to narrow it down right there, because even though Loki came up with the genius idea that, you know, she's hiding, or she's hiding in many different apocalypses, there's a ton of those across the whole timeline, you know.
Yes.
Even when they found this one right here, they still had to narrow it down to three or 4 years, but still that was over a big body of land and water. And so I like that deductive reasoning right there. It's also just kind of interesting that she knew that they were coming, because she was looking at them with the security footage. And so that's just kind of interesting right there. But even as this scene was developing, I like the fact that Hunter C-15 and Mobius were arguing over who is going to have more control over Loki. Like, no, he's coming with me. He's coming with me. And he used his magic to dry himself. You know, that's cool. I'm just, happy that he was able to use his magic, on this side of the universe. But yeah, going back to the beginning, I like the way they narrowed that down, with the blue candy, because that was well thought out.
Yeah, man. Agreed. Shout out to Neva the Diva coming through with $19 because she likes how good we look. Don't let her fool y'all. She says she likes the commentary, but she likes everything attached to our mouth and not just the commentary. In any event, either, we're very grateful. Larry, the ball's in your court, my brother. Talk about this scene when they've used this gum and then they go on ahead and they get in here trying to catch up with Lady Loki. And she's looking at him. She's looking at him coming, taking the time jump.
Yeah, it's interesting on that gum, on the package of that gum, and we talked about in the first episode how it made your tongue turn blue, and they showed the stained glass in the church with that devil-looking character with the blue tongue. And then if you look at the image on the gum packaging, it looks like Loki.
That looks like Loki.
It looked like the Loki that was in that package.
It looks like
that was on the stained glass.
Okay.
In the first episode, it kind of looks like him. So anyway, I was just looking at that. I was trying to figure out if there was something else in there with the 9 units and all that. So I don't think I've seen gum with 9 units. Usually they have like 7 sticks in there. So I don't know. Maybe it was some special thing or something. But
that's that 2050 gum.
The future, right? Yeah.
That's that old future gum. Elliot, jump on in there, my brother. How'd you like the way they shaped all this out?
Yeah, no, this whole setup, aesthetically speaking, the blue neon colored lights, the score kicking in, getting some serious action going on, really kind of got me excited. This is the MCU action that we come to love in the last 13 plus years or so. But yeah, no, this is Lady Loki again. We talked about how our version, Tom Hiddleston Loki, is smart. Well, this Lady Loki, not only is she capturing these reset bombs, but she took C20's little navigation thing with the settings and minutes, so she probably was able to track or see where they were going to go next. So she's just, again, it's just showing you the wits and the smarts of Loki, that they don't take anything as for granted. They take all the little details and use it to their advantage. But This whole setup was great. Again, we have B-15. She does. Wumi Mushaku does not trust Loki, and she has every reason to not trust him because everything he does is always part of a scheme. He told Owen Wilson, Mobius, so many times this episode, I'll never do it again. I'll never backstab. But yet he is in his DNA to have some type of trickery, some type of plan set up, as we know that he leaves with his Loki. But no, this scene was so awesome, man. And we'll obviously talk about the ramifications of what Lady Loki did, but just that whole setup, going with B-15, Mobius running into C-20, and obviously getting that reveal. But this was just such a great scene. And like I said, when we talk about that ending, that's huge ramifications for the rest of the show in the MCU.
Mm-hmm. And
I wonder if Loki,
go ahead, Larry.
I wonder if Loki would have double crossed him if he would have trusted him in that moment. Because he kind of didn't. And he even made some comments about why is it always the people you don't trust the most say you can trust them, and I think he didn't trust them. And I wonder if he had just said, "Yeah, I trust you. Go ahead." I wonder if Loki would have responded differently and would have maybe have honored his word.
I feel you, I do, but I think this Loki has enough sense to know that double crossing him would just make it worse for him. I mean, he's in completely unknown territory. His world was just shook when he found out that the Infinity Stones don't work there. So he's just like, I mean, look, I could have been reset, but they're giving me a chance. Let me learn as much as I can before I try to stab somebody in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But he did double cross him in the end.
How?
He jumped through the.
That's not a double cross. How's that a double? He's just trying to seek more knowledge. I mean, I don't see it as a double cross.
What Larry feels that way because Mobius was trying to get him to not go inside the time jump with Lady Loki, and he went anyway. So on the surface, I guess it looks like it is a double cross, but I was going to get to that in a minute, but we'll get there in a minute. We'll talk about that because we're almost to that part anyway. Well, we are there. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and dive into it now. So, Larry,
I hope I didn't mean to mess the show up.
No, you're good. You're good. We're there anyway. So, Larry, we are here now. We are there in this place where a hurricane is about to come and destroy everybody. And Lady Loki has enchanted this black dude. And I'm just thankful that the black dude didn't die while he's in there trying to get hurricane level. Now, first of all, let me stop this shit right now. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's a hurricane coming and a black man has the ability to go somewhere, I mean, TVA agent should have known better than this. His ass is not going to a yard sale or some Home Depot to buy plants on a hurricane sale. She should have known better.
Right.
That was the funniest stuff. He said azaleas are 50% off.
Looking for that sale, man. Gotta take advantage of the sale.
Please, just get out of here. But anyway, she runs up on her, gets enchanted, and now this is when we get the first dialogue between the two Lokis. All what that's happening in the background, we also learn, if you guys pay attention, which you guys always do, the TVA is evil, like I tried to tell y'all last week. They in there pushing around these people who they're gonna die anyway, but these people are scared and you want to be calm, and the TVA is just pushing them around. They took Hillbilly Bob and just shoved him to the left. Larry, ball's in your court, brother. Break down this introduction to Lady Loki jumping in, talking to Man Loki, TVA pushing people, and they do find C-20, who reveals she succumbed to all the overtures of Lady Loki and reveal where the TVA is located. I mean, where the timekeepers are located.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at this and I looked at the dude, it looks like his eyes turned blue. Like it looked like there was blue being like whenever Lady Loki touched somebody, it looked like they had some blue like going in their eyes.
It was green.
Was it green? I couldn't tell because I couldn't tell if it was blue or it looked blue on my TV, but maybe it was just I was watching it early in the morning. There was all kinds of glare on my TV, so I was having a hard time watching it anyway. But that's why I was kind of wondering, like maybe it was that whole green color that Loki has going on, just like that, or if it was blue, I thought maybe it was like the power of the Tesseract that she had inside of her. Or something.
It was Enchantress color green.
Gotcha. So I just thought that was just very cool the way that, I mean, I know we've talked about her being able to, to control people like that. I just thought that was cool, even though Loki thought that was sort of beneath him. I thought it was just a lot of fun to watch that happen to each one of the different people that had it, whether it be the customers there or one of the one of the TVA hunters or whatever. So I'm assuming that they can't enchant, they can't possess each other. I mean, I don't know what kind of weirdness that would, I don't know. Like they always talk about these weird things that happen in timelines. If you go in the same timeline as yourself before and you see yourself or touch yourself, that can cause all kinds of cataclysmic events. I just wonder what would happen if she tried to enchant Loki. Like, would that cause some weird craziness in some apocalypse event?
Larry on that Back to the Future.
Somebody posted a meme online, by the way, of Marty McFly with one of those one of those powers on, and
they finally got him.
Yeah. Elliot, jump on in there, my brother. How you feeling about all this, man? I enjoyed it.
It's so that picture right there of Mobius, checking in, and even Mobius before that checking in, like you brought up, Lamont, of checking in the people. I don't know, man. I think this episode really does point a light on Mobius going out of the norm. This is from what I've seen so far from TVA. They are so structured, they're so by the book, and to see Mobius sympathizing with those people, even though they're going to die, like Larry said, but he's still sympathizing with them. Same with Pompeii. Mobius is different, man. I don't know. This might be a wild theory. I don't know if Mobius is who he says he is. Maybe he's a timekeeper in disguise and might be one of those timekeepers on the loose. So there's something about Mobius, man, that's really speaking a lot to me in this episode. Again, the ski jets, the conversation that he has with Loki, caring for people, going outside the norm. I don't know, man. Mobius might not be who he says he is.
We discussed last week that Mobius probably got some powers that we don't know about. We mentioned that last week briefly, that there's more to him than what we know, and that he has a comic background, ladies and gentlemen. But they've already twisted it up a little bit from the way it was in the comics. But I think Mobius is super powered. I really do. I really do.
And like B. Avery was saying, it seemed like there was a vibe between Mobius and Ravonna, and we know Ravonna's not going to get with a scrub. So, he's more than what we think of him as just some random TVA agent that's going out there fixing red line. So,
he's basically fixing leaky pipes, Larry. He's fixing these timelines. Those are leaky pipes going in the wrong direction. He's out there fixing them. B. Avery. It's on you, my brother.
Yeah, kind of like what Larry's saying. Good point as far as, because Ravonna is not going to go after no scrub. Good point. I like that. However, I do think, to agree with Elliot and Lamont as well, I do agree that Mobius has something different about him. He's cut from a different cloth. I think he is going to come over the light side. I'm not comfortable going as far as saying that he may have powers or anything like that, but I do think eventually he's gonna be like, man, this is some bullshit. It's not right. Or he's just like, man, if I want to go, get on a jet ski or both. You know what I'm saying? Now going back to what you were saying, Larry, about Enchantress enchanting, or Lady Loki. I'm gonna call her Enchantress.
Yeah, we're gonna call her Enchantress. That's what we're gonna call her.
Yeah, enchanting Loki. She, like in the comics, in the cartoons, and the lore, she's always enchanted other Asgardians and just kind of had power over them, like I don't want to say Wanda, but she just had power over them and was able to make them do what they want. Sometimes Thor was able to break it off, but like, hey, what's going on? Like, what you doing, woman?
The more powerful the Asgardian was, the less likely she was be able to enchant you for a long time.
Right. So but hey, here in the MCU, they may change it up. Now, this scene is funny right here, but the other one where it was Hunter C20, where she was saying, I forgot exactly what she was saying, but she said she gave it away. I wonder what gives her so much authority and power that she that she is able to meet or know how to get to the timekeepers. However, Mobius said he's never met them before. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a good point.
I kind of thought that he was above her. I don't know. She was tripping balls, but you know, it could have just been hallucinating, not making any sense. We'll just have to see. But yeah, all that was cool.
Right.
The Enchantress is the one in Earth's Mightiest Hero that kidnaps Thor and basically was just had him on some, I forgot what she took him to, but she had some place because she was in love with him, right?
Yeah, she's in love with him. She's in love with him. She's in, and there's a comic version. One of the reasons they talk about Loki being gender fluid is because there is history where Loki winds up putting his spirit into Sif, Lady Sif, and he becomes a woman. There's a whole backstory to the whole thing. So there's various different forms of Loki in the comic lore. And with Enchantress, I'm wondering, B. Avery, this is my question with her. I'm wondering, why does the MCU not just want to bring her in? What is the end game with Lady Loki having those powers? And maybe they'll switch it up before this is over with. But
I hope so. I think so.
I'm just like, just bring the Enchantress in. She has a rich history. I mean, there was one time she got in, she had the powers of Surtur and was almost about to cause a Ragnarok.
I don't know that.
And guess who she teamed up with to get that going? None other than Loki himself. So it's kind of like,
I think they're leaning that way, man. It would make sense. She's probably one of the own main Asgardian characters that we haven't seen yet in the MCU.
Right.
That's not like a super villain, you know.
Right.
I mean, because we got Gorr the God Butcher, and you know that there are other Thor villains and antagonists, but she's to me like a mainstay. You know, like we should have got Enchantress before Lady Sif, and well, maybe not, but well, no, maybe.
Neck and neck. I would say neck and neck.
There you go. But I've been calling for her for the longest. Like, when are we gonna get Enchantress? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, Enchantress and the Executioner, but you know, we kind of already got the Executioner and Ragnarok a little bit.
Right.
You know, but yeah. Anyway, I think the Enchantress officially is coming, and I think this is her. I think it'll be revealed, kind of like it was Agatha all along. It was Enchantress all along. I think that's
yeah. Hot take, ladies and gentlemen. You get them first here. B. Avery's of the mind that this is the Enchantress all along. I'm a wishful thinker on that one. And as a matter of fact, B. Avery, I'm coming to you now. So as we're getting through this scene, the Enchantress, better known as Loki, they're having their dialogue. She's jumping through everybody's body.
Randy.
And she jumped in. She jumps in Randy, and while she's in Randy, Loki is basically saying, look, I'm going to overthrow the TVA. I'm going to overthrow the timekeepers. Why don't you join me? And that's when Lady Loki reveals her plan to him, that she has a grander plan. She wants to just disrupt the timeline and create her own damn multiverse. And she reveals herself. B. Avery, take the wheel, my brother. And for me and you, we'll just call this chick the Enchantress.
Right on. Yeah, at first I was like, you know, I was just kind of confused with all the enchanting, and I'm just like, you know, who is this? You know, what are they doing? You know, why does Randy look so feminine right there? It was funny too. You know, yeah, him saying that he wants to take it over, and it was like, no, I have bigger plans, and you know, this was just stalling, so the bomb thing can go off. I'm kind of mad that Loki got whooped like that, though. You know, I mean, he even showed his magical powers, but he getting tossed around. Well, I guess the other like trucker-looking guy, you know, had the powers of I don't know, but he was getting tossed around a little bit too much for me. But I do love the reveal. It was funny. Dude on the phone was like, I don't know what to say, and the dude took it like the second timeline has been bombed. She had a lot of bombs too, man. She
had them all
and stuff. And so what I'm kind of thinking is, she's probably, since she set up bombs over the whole sacred timeline, and we saw at the end that all the Minutemen were running through separate portals, I'm thinking that they're running to try to clip all those before they redline. But it's probably like, you know, hey, let me get all the cops out the police station so it'll be empty and I can sneak in and maneuver around and do this and that without being noticed or whatever.
That's it.
Maybe she's trying to get them secret files that Loki was trying to get in the library or whatever. I don't know, but
And B. Avery, did you also notice? Did you also notice when all the bombs blew up? This right here is Ravona's computer. And do you see all the different apocalypses that's going on? Xandar. Who else is in there? I can see Asgard.
Yeah.
So everybody's having to go to all these apocalypses, so much so that Ravonna had to put her gear on, grab her little hammer stick and her hat, and get in action. And it's like you said, B. Avery, the TVA is completely empty.
Right.
And they've got one in here from 1984, and I saw where that was a nod to Savage Hulk, where he took on Doctor Strange of the Multiverse. He took on Spider-Man in the black suit and Thor and Wanda. Everybody had to come together to try to defeat the Savage Hulk. But that was just a little pun that I saw on this screen right here. Continue your thesis, my brother B. Avery.
Yeah, man, I even forgot about that. I spoke about that briefly, but I forgot about here, man. Yeah, those are all these crazy events, man. And so it's just nuts. It is nuts how this just expanded so much, this universe into a multiverse. And, you know, we get to see it all. So, I mean, yeah, I'm just excited, man. I just hope they can stick the landing.
You got that right. If they can get a little bit of that Simone Biles in them, they'll stick that landing. Larry, jump on in there, my brother.
Yeah, I was looking at this and thinking they should have cast Christina Hendricks in here, you know, for Lady Loki.
Boy, you still now. If y'all want to know the actress name, this is the actress name, Sophia De Martina.
What's up, girl?
Yeah, you can have her, B. Avery. I'll let you have her all to yourself.
Okay.
I'll keep C20.
Okay.
Go ahead.
C20. C20. C20 is the chick with the dreads, right?
Yes, that's C20.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I'll enjoy taking that stick out her butt.
Nice.
Oh man, you guys can have them all. I'll take Ravonna and just sit back and watch with it. Yeah, this scene was funny with Randy and then the other dudes. It was just funny. I mean, I feel like Loki probably could have fought back, but didn't really want to, you know. We've seen Loki get busy when he wants to, and he didn't really seem like he was really trying to do much except not get hurt, you know. Right. But I thought it was funny when he called her Loki and she said, "Don't call me that."
Yeah.
Yeah. She did say that. She wasn't feeling that.
No.
More reasons why she the Enchantress.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
B. Avery always have my Larry. I might have to kick you out and give B. Avery a paid position. He when it comes to these comments, he always got my back. I don't never got to listen to his mouth about the rightful ruler of Wakanda and none of that mess.
Oh, see, I didn't even bring up Killmonger. But you know, since we're on the subject, let's just not forget that he is the rightful ruler of Wakanda, in charge of all the vibranium weapons to send out to help defeat the oppressors out there. So, you know, I'm just saying, don't make me pull my lip out and show my war dog tattoo. I'm just gonna leave that alone for now. But
Larry, you do know the timekeepers are the oppressors.
Take them out then. Killmonger's all about that.
Okay. Elliot, jump on in there, man. You've been quiet too long. Jump on in there, Elliot.
No, man, this was how you end the episode, man. The implications of what Lady Loki's doing. You know, why does she want to disrupt the timeline? Again, this speaks back to, you know, not only maybe the Enchantress thing that we're thinking, but also just maybe she knows who the timekeepers really are, and she really wants to shake and muck things up and show them for really who they are and their motives. So, yeah, man, I think this not only speaks to this show, but I think what she did will speak to other future MCU projects in the form of movies. I'm looking at Doctor Strange 2 and obviously Spider-Man 3. So I think this is definitely going to shake the MCU up. But Loki leaving, I think this is again, just Loki being smart. You know, Owen Wilson, Mobius might think, as we talked about earlier, that he's betraying them, but I think he's just going to get more knowledge. Loki's always doing something, whereas if it help somewhat of the main narrative and the mission, he'll go by it. But also, if he can get some information about, okay, Loki, what makes you so special? Why do they think you? Because Mobius does call him out in this episode, calling him a scared child, and that this Lady Loki is more superior than he is. So what makes you more superior? Why have you been able to get away from the TVA? Why was I caught and you were able to get away? So I think he's going to learn, maybe, again, going back to Larry's point, maybe he'll learn some things or two from Lady Loki. Maybe not a new power set, but just maybe how to be more mischief, the god of mischief in her ways, and learning it from Loki. And maybe he ultimately takes her out so he can be that superior Loki. So now this is a great way to cap off the episode. It makes us all wonder what those ramifications of her actions are, why she's doing it, where are they going, where is this next time portal taking them. So this was great, man. I loved it.
I'm with you. Echo everything you said. And that's going to conclude it for us, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go through the fellas for one more final rebuttal. Larry, I'll start with you. In 2 minutes, tell us what you're looking for in the next Loki and what you got going on your channel this week.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to know. I'm curious what everybody thinks, just since we're, we can take gentlemen's best to think what episode it's going to be when Mobius has to make a choice between the TVA and Loki. Because I think that's coming. And I'm
Beaver got his hand up. Beaver got his hand up. We got to get him in there.
You think 5, Beaver? You're muted. So all right.
Oh, okay.
My bad. Yes, episode 5. I think episode.
All right, episode 5. All right. Let's see.
All right. So, what's going on your channel this week, Larry?
Same madness, man. Just more reviews. I have some cool stuff over here. Just some stuff that, like an air purifier, a slow juicer, and some like insulated. Huh?
I said a time machine.
Yeah.
You probably got some vibranium too. They sent him a T-shirt.
Yeah, man. So just some fun stuff to kind of review and put some stuff out. I think I'm gonna make a couple of tutorials on just some simple stuff, like stuff that people have been asking about, like how to clean off your Fire Stick. So because people are trying to watch stuff and are trying to download apps and their Fire Sticks are filled up. So I'm just gonna do some videos on how to clean out the cache on some of your old stuff and make room on your Fire Stick. Just some of the sort of maintenance stuff that people need, but it's not always the fun and sexiest stuff, but they get views because people need it. So
okay, all right, sounds good. Elliot, final thoughts and what you want to see next week on Loki and what's going on your channel.
Yeah, I mean, so final thoughts. Yeah, I think this episode, if we are looking at this as a film, this was the end of the first act. So Act 2 coming up in episode 3 and 4, and then obviously Act 3 in episodes 5 and 6. So I think this is a great way to cap off the first half of Loki, and it's so excited to see how episode 2, or I said episode 3, will start off the second half of this great show so far, man. Again, from the conversations of belief systems and all the great stuff that we got. The great acting, the comedy, and again, this ending, it was such a great ending. I'm really excited for it. As far as week 3 or next week's episode, I think we're going to have that conversation with Lady Loki, where you come from, what's your purpose, why are you doing this, as well as seeing Mobius, because Renslayer did tell him this is your last chance. So will this be the next, maybe with Brandon's question, him going on Loki's side, will he now break protocol because he's going to be suspended and maybe do his own mission to, find Loki in next week and kind of veer him off his guidelines and maybe getting closer and closer to that ski jet. So I'm really excited for next week's episode and to see what they got for us. But as far as content goes, we'll be talking more Loki tomorrow on a live stream. We got a couple other shows that I cover on Apple TV Plus, as well as on some other shows on other streaming platforms I'll be talking about. But I do want to say, Lamont, man, I'm watching your channel ever since I came in contact with Brandon, man. I'd love to finally be on one of these live streams with the great panel you put together, the great community you have over here, man. So thank you for having me on, and this was a lot of fun.
Oh, man, we're glad to have you. We hope you'll come back. Like I said, this is an open channel. I'm here for networking. I'm here for helping young YouTubers, helping anyone who wants to get into YouTube. Is what I do. I believe in networking, and stay tuned, my brother. The sky's the limit. B. Avery, last but not least.
Yes, sir.
what do you think about next week's episode and what you got good going on your channel. And please tell me you're getting some sleep while you're still working on them cuts for the sluts.
Oh, I'm about to go to bed as soon as we're done with this right here. I'm tired, man. As far as this episode, I think I'm liking it even more just based off the conversation that we had tonight. It's pretty fun. Y'all really got my mind wandering, and that's pretty cool. I may have this playing in the background again as I'm going to sleep. But I think what we're going to see next week is, well, before I even say that, is like there really hasn't even been an antagonist introduced in this series yet, you know, other than the timekeepers, but that's just speculation. And we haven't even met them or even know if they exist. You know, you can't get mad at the Lady Loki or Enchantress just for, you know, trying to be free, you know, it just like it's not Loki's fault. He just picked up a damn test. I mean, shit. If opportunity, the test was fell in his lab. Opportunity, what you gonna throw it away? You know, like everybody gonna throw away a briefcase of money. He like, I'm free. You know.
Well, be angry. That's like asking if a Brinks truck drops a case of money and the Brinks truck keep on going. Don't see you pick it up, are you gonna pick it up?
Man, if you cannot, I just say this: when it comes to finding money, if it's unidentifiable, then it's mine. But I guess if it's like a Brinks truck, you know. Like if I find some cash in the parking lot, I'm keeping it. If I find somebody's wallet in the parking lot, I'm gonna return it because you can identify it. But that's just my thing right there. But I think the next episode we are going to find out that the TVA is a farce. There has to be. I mean, there's no reason why the Lady Loki and Enchantress are not going to have a conversation about what's really going on, or her thought process, or why she's doing what she's doing. I mean, that conversation, I don't see that conversation not happening, you know, and either Loki is going to join her or he's going to be on the fence. And I can't wait. And so, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. As far as I got going on my channel, man, I just have another show coming this Sunday, another movie news roundup show. I cannot wait to talk about one topic with whoever wants to show up on this panel about the movie pass and the FTC and like all that coming out, the news that the CEO, they were purposely resetting people's passwords that was using the service too much. That's just crazy. That's definitely going to be one of the topics. Other than that, what's going on my channel is I just have other reviews that I'm going to be putting out. And if I can just kind of share my screen real quick, this is an independent black film that was shot here in Dallas, Texas by one of the guys I went to college with. I've been knowing him since like 2003. He's not in this picture right here, but they made a black hip hop musical film. It's, you know, it's on Amazon Prime right now, and I did a review for it. And so I just got, you know, of course we always got to support, you know, our black brothers and sisters, our black content creators, but this is an independent project too. They spent like $5,000 or $10,000 on it, and so, you know, just scraping up their pennies, what they got to put something together. And it's you know, it's the black guy in the hoodie, his name is Joseph the Hotep, and the white guy's name is Scott. And it's kind of like, you know, Morpheus and Neo, him teaching him like, hey, you have white privilege. I just want to address it and, you know, turn you into an ally. And so, but it's a hip hop musical though, and it's pretty dope. So I did a review for it. If you want to go view that on my channel, you can. And also, the film is on Amazon Prime. It debuted today on Amazon Prime. If you guys want to go support some black independent filmmakers.
Yeah, cool. Sounds like a plan to me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to be up here tomorrow. Thursday's a day when individuals that come to me for one-on-one about anything I do on my channel, I take that day and work with them. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. Friday, I will be back with Living Legend, just covering previews for the shows we watch on the weekend. Little bit of movie news roundup we do, and a little bit of gossip. We do it all on Friday to make it fun and entertaining. And be safe out there, my people. And if you're still looking at my stock videos and just really learning the fundamentals, again, do not waste money on the Reddit stocks unless it's money you can lose. And not only can you lose it, but I would say this as a caveat: money you can wait for the stocks to get where they're at right now. Having said that, be safe. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to everybody on this panel. Hopefully we'll all be back again next Wednesday. And until that next Sex is Hell video, which will be Friday, we'll see you.
Killmonger's the rightful ruler of Wakanda.
Man, take off that.